All right. I'm gonna I'm gonna get started on my presentation today at the state of Chase. I started doing this a couple of years ago, and this is just a great way to share with the school community what we're about and what we've been doing here, and give you a little bit of the secret inside of stuff that you might not normally see, but I think it's important for everyone to know. Now, students, there's a big announcement at the end of the presentation. Only one person at Chase knows it besides me, right? So you'll be the first to know. So if you want to be the first to snap it or DM or Instagram or TikTok until you drop it, you will have the opportunity to get this information out to everyone first. I'll let you know when that's going to happen. Okay. It's big news, big news. Okay. So if we talk about Chase by the numbers, we currently have 52 faculty, 27 support staff, 538 students when I last did this, 29 towns sending currently, which I think is just so exciting. Our population is 41% free reduced lunch, 14% have a special education plan, 3% are English language learners or multi-language learner students. And then you can't see because my image is blocking the corner, but 82.9% of our students come from what are called alliance districts. And alliance districts are districts that, I can move this so you can see what it actually says. Alliance districts are students, well, it just says students attending alliances, but alliance districts are the most needy school districts in the state. And so as a magnet school, we attract students from all about. We have from towns from a very high socioeconomic status, and we also have students from all over the place. But the big message here is people are very interested in being here. We ran our lottery. We're going to have approximately 170 seats or so available this coming year for the incoming sixth grade plus the additional grades on top of that. And we had over 1,000 applications this year. So again, very high interest for students coming here. These are some of our data from last year's Next Generation Accountability Index. That's the State of Connecticut report card. If you ever want to see in detail how schools are performing, any school, this is public information. And it showcases how a school is doing. And I will share with you some of our information. One of the things we know about our school is that our students from their respective towns consistently outperform their towns. So while our numbers might not always look super high for certain things, what I can tell you is that if you compare the cohort of students from that town to the town scores, our numbers are always higher. We've had one town, one exception, I think, in the time we've recorded that information. So our report card is divided into performance indices for all students and high needs students. So I'm sure you've heard of the achievement gap. And the achievement gap is a measure of how all students do compared to students who are high needs. And the state of Connecticut defines high needs students as low socioeconomic status, which is measured by free reduced lunch, English language learners or multi-language learners, this is the other bucket, and special education students. So we look at performance rates of all students compared to high needs students. That's the thing. So like if we look at our ELA performance index, we're at 62% here, and our high needs are at 57%. We kind of expect them to be lower in some circumstances. What we hope is not happening is that there's this significant gap between our all students and then our high needs students. Then we have the math performance index and the science performance indices too. We're fairly good on those things. These are the target scores the state sets for us to get, and then we earn points based on how our index matches or meets up to the target. And so here are our points earned, and then the calculation of the percentage of the points. It's all, a little bit of spreadsheet math to give us our final score. So we're measured in performance. We also get measured in growth. So the students here last year, how much did they grow over the course of the year? And I'll give you some of our internal data that shows us on the growth too. The other thing that is measured is chronic absenteeism. Chronic absenteeism is student being absent for any reason at all more than 10% of the school year. So the school year is 180 days. This is it. So I'm going to do my presentation. You can set up in the back, and we're glad to have you here. No problem. So we were talking about chronic absenteeism, more than absence for any reason, excused or unexcused, more than 10% of the school year. Full school year is 180 days. So that's being absent more than 18 times. So we kind of track that as the year progresses. It's basically 2 days a month. School months, 10 months. It's actually closer to 9 months. So a student has basically 2 days, less than 2 days per month to not be chronically absent. Okay. Our physical fitness is also measured in there, and that score is calculated as well. The real question is considering the gap outliers, and that is the size of the gap. So here's our ELA performance index, 68.7. Our high needs is 57. Our gap is 11.3. The state average, the state gap is 17.3. So if you're above the state average, you're an outlier. You have a significant achievement gap. If you do not meet that threshold, you do not have an achievement gap. And so here at ACES Chase, we do not have a significant achievement gap between our high needs learners and all students, which I think that's something that I'm very proud of, that we ensure that all students have the opportunity to learn here. And our data indicates that we're helping grow and have students reach achievement levels, even if they have a need. So teachers and I set a goal for the school year, and I'm going to talk to you through this goal a little bit and what that means for the school and how we approached it this year. So this is all the inner workings of the school that students may not know about. Have you heard your teachers talking about like rigor this year, the word rigor? Does that word come up? No? Okay. That's what I've been talking a lot about this year. Purpose. I think purpose was a big one for us this year. I'll talk about what these mean to us. So our goal is to increase rigor and purpose in instruction to promote academic growth and achievement via coherent instructional vision, mission, model, consistent with the school's core values, portrait of a graduate. I know you've all heard of that one, and the understanding of our understanding of what STEAM is. So people say STEAM, and they go, oh yeah, I know what that is: science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. But what does that really mean in a school, and how does it work? That's something we've been trying to work through this year to have a definition ourselves. So we say what STEAM is and what it means to us at the school. So if you see STEAM at the school, we know it means this, this, and this. We're not finished with that work yet, so that's why I'm not elaborating too much on that, but a lot of that other stuff we have. So let's kind of dissect this goal a little bit. First, we'll talk about rigor and purpose. So when we define rigor, what we mean by rigor is when students have more independence and cognitive complexity, the tasks that teachers are asking you to do makes you think real hard. That's how we approach rigor. So say a teacher is going to be absent from school and they're going to write subplans, right? Does that have high rigor? Probably not, right? But I bet you it has high student autonomy. You need to be able to do it by yourself because the sub might not be able to help you with it. So like subplans often give students a lot of independence, but the task might not be so hard because students might not be able to figure it out without the teacher being able to help them. Conversely, if there's a really challenging task to do, but the teacher has to guide you through the whole thing, has to help you, you can't do it independently, then you're over here. That's not rigorous either. So when we combine you being able to do it by yourself and the task being very challenging, that's what rigor is. That's how we're defining it here. There's other people define it different ways. We think that's a very accessible definition for us as educators. And then purpose. And that's that you as students see the relevance to the work we're asking you to do. You have input in it. You get to put your own spin on it. I think for those of you in middle school and taking your STEAM Expeditions class, we really hope that you really see purpose in those tasks you're asked to do there. We know our eighth graders saw a lot of purpose when they did their digital portfolios this year. They were telling us all about it. Everyone, highest performing students to struggling students, were all excited, a little bit nervous, but really proud of the work they did. They saw the purpose in that work. Okay. And then the rest of our definition was we're trying to get growth and achievement. Students get smarter and they achieve at a high level. And that is through having an instructional vision, mission, and model consistent with the school's values, portrait of a graduate. And that's where the next thing was. Our portrait of a graduate, which so many people in this room actually helped participate in helping us to develop the portrait, where we have identified important attributes that we think are critical for students to be successful when they leave us. And they look differently at different levels of the school. So we have a 6 to 8 band, what we call competencies associated with our portrait. We have a 9-10 band associated with it, and we have an 11-12. And each have their own sets of rubrics that were developed as part of the process. And each is a competency that we expect students to be able to achieve. And I'm sure you recognize this huge work we did this year. Maybe you don't notice it, but like I look at the development of our standards-based reporting and use of competencies this year. No one's seen the one on the right yet because no one's needed a transcript yet. But when I came to Chase, we had some interesting practices in place, which included not storing grades. So grades were printed in report cards and then put in student files, and then they disappeared from existence on our student information system. So we had to literally build lots of stuff in order to more effectively track progress and monitor student progress. Now, for those of you that have seen our report card this year, you know that these standards are probably much more detailed than what you saw last year. I often said we were not standards-based grading, we were topics-based grading, because the standard would say geometry. And that's not a standard. That doesn't say what a student's supposed to know. Our standards now say what we need to know. So we spent, not this year, but the year before, identifying what we thought were critical standards for students to be able to demonstrate mastery in. And that's what you see on the bottom part of the report cards that students get, those individual standards. You also see our portrait of the graduate competencies. They're all listed now, and those are part of the process. Students need to demonstrate their competency in our portrait attributes, and that's reported both on the report card and on the transcript for students. In addition, we've moved to some mode-based grading, which is a very odd way of grading students, to a mean system, average student scores, and students get an individual grade for classes, which they did not get in the past. They get a hodgepodge of scores, which were maybe a little hard to disaggregate and see what they mean. It's much more clear now. So that work all took place a lot into the summer and a lot into the fall. We were like crossing fingers to get it working, and then incorporate that into our student information system to all be able to provide that information to you in PowerSchool. We have the transcript now that does that too. I know it's hard to read from where you're standing right now, but you'll see in our competency section, we list our problem solver, collaborator, communicator, and advocate, and we also indicate our digital portfolio demonstration, which is now a required competency in order to be promoted out of 8th grade and to be promoted out of 10th grade. Students must demonstrate that their problem solving, collaboration, communication, and advocate skills are there. They create their portfolios and they showcase those portfolios. And we did that school-wide as a school-wide activity. And I think there was a big shift in learning for us as a school. I think all our teachers really came to understand what we were trying to get at. The pride the students took in that work and the nervousness they had because they saw that purpose in the work they were going to be doing was really exciting. Our 8th graders did it this year. Our 10th graders will do it next year at a deeper level. 8th grade and 10th grade do it next year. And that's part of the requirements to move on to get promoted. We still have a couple of students left that have not demonstrated their competency on their portfolio yet. So we're going to help structure the process so they can get through the whole thing as well themselves. Okay. So some of you gave input on this work as well. We developed, so we know we have our portrait of a graduate. You saw that process. And one of the things we realized when we did that is our mission and vision really were not aligned to the portrait work we had done. The mission and vision were kind of these esoterical statements of nonsense that didn't make any sense and were not like tangible. And so our teams went through a very iterative process over and over again to develop our mission. And I think you look at our mission, we cultivate inclusive learning environments where all students develop the skills to portrait indicators. Problem solve, collaborate, communicate, and advocate to achieve their goals and contribute meaningfully to the world. So our mission now embodies what our portrait is, and that's work we did this year. Also developing our vision statement, looking for inquiring learners, creative problem solvers, and responsible citizens. Really just what we strive to achieve here. The last thing on my list was talking about the instructional model. And again, this is a lot of backdoor stuff. Backroom stuff we're doing with teachers. And what we're trying to figure out is like, what does excellent practice associated with our portrait attributes look like consistently across the school? So in other words, if students are effectively problem solving, then instruction is these things. And we're still trying to figure that out. Some of the students might have noticed sometimes other teachers have come into classrooms on a third Wednesday of the month and observed classroom teachers. I'm sure you've seen this happen, right? The teachers observing teachers. We're doing a very special process called instructional rounds. I guess I didn't put a slide in that. Instructional rounds is a protocol developed at Harvard University. All the teachers are participating in it this year. They go into each other's rooms. They observe, and they come back and we do this specific protocol to analyze our information. And then what they do is they come up with areas of strength and areas that we want to grow in. And so we identify those things. So we've done that 8 times so far this year. Our last one for May is in a couple of weeks. Actually, next week, it's coming up fast. So we'll come up for May and we'll go out and do this process. And then we'll really try to figure out what we want to do as educators to promote high quality instruction. And so we've done some initial analysis on it. And so over the 5 pages of strengths and areas for improvement, we've identified strengths in classroom environment and management, the student autonomy. And if you remember the student autonomy part, that was the bottom part of that rigor graph, that teachers are really good at helping students with that autonomy and giving them autonomy to do their work independently. There's a lot of great instructional strategies and feedback, and we're seeing nice alignment to our portrait of graduate attributes. We're seeing those things take place. And what we've done is we've identified some areas for growth, and I've set those up as goals. And they're preliminary for next year. We're going to see how it waters out, but we want to deepen cognitive complexity across content areas. So that's that part of the rigor graph. So that we get more to rigor, and that the purpose of that is to get to rigor with a very specific focus of what we want to do in rigor. And the second is to strengthen student collaboration. And so collaboration is one of our portrait attributes, but we're not seeing consistent use of collaboration in classrooms. We want to improve that opportunity for students to really collaborate with one another so it doesn't turn into collaboration means the smart person does the work and everybody else copies. That's not collaboration. But that's often that's kind of Discord collaboration, right? Like some of the parts is worse than doing it by yourself because you get less learning taking place. So that's what we're going to strive for. Let's take a look at some of our school performance data. So this is our chronic absenteeism rates for this year as of, I think it was yesterday or the day before I pulled this data. So our 6th grade chronic absenteeism rate is 10%. 7th, 8th, and 9th are all close at 18 point something percent, with a whole school average of 16.4%. So 16.4% of our students are chronically absent. This is a curve improvement. I don't know if you can see this from here, but that coming out of the COVID years, in 2021, we were 59% chronic absenteeism. 21, 22, 66%. In my first year here, 22, 23, we're at 28%, came down to 28%. Last year was 21%. So we should be hopefully under 20% this year. We're seeing that downward trend on chronic absenteeism. And that's that. This is some of our referral data. So at Chase, we document referrals. Referrals are not consequences for students. The way teachers document what is happening so we can better understand what's going on. And so this is a referral by ethnicity grant. I'm sure many people here, Black students, Latino students are over-referred, they are over-suspended. And so this is what our data looks like. So if we look at the graph, the green bars indicate the percentage of students of the school. So if the blue bar matches it, they're being referred at the rate of the students that are in the school. If the blue bar is higher, that's an over-referred group. And if the green bar is higher, that's an under-referred group. So we have, so with our Asian students, they are slightly over-referred. Our Latino students, our Hispanic students are over-referred. Our Black students and mixed racial students are not over-referred. They're pretty even. And our white students are under-referred. So we're trying to look at that a little bit and see if we can figure out what we're doing, how we can help certain groups of students. Go ahead. No, when the blue bar is higher than the green bar, that's not what you want to see. So referrals are, say a student does something wrong in the classroom and the teacher has to send the student to the office or take the student out in the hall and have a discussion about it or whatever they decide the consequence is going to be for it. That's documented as a referral. So we have a documentation so we can keep track of that data and know how we're performing as a school. So this is a trend that makes me unhappy here. So especially here, try to figure out, we know it tends to be Hispanic males that have the higher referral work. We've done a little data dive. Hispanic males also have the best attendance in school too. So it's just kind of interesting. Like who are our most chronically absent students? White students are the most chronically absent students here. So I guess maybe that's part of it. So what do teachers do in response to behaviors that we find inappropriate? So these are the range of actions that can be taken. The majority of the time, we use restorative approaches, which means we try to help students see what went wrong and make the student right. So that might involve a support call, where the student might work with one of our behavior techs or an administrator or another adult, a school counselor. Teachers might conference directly with the students themselves. And then what do we have here? Detention is the one after that. So that's less restorative in nature. But the majority of what we're doing is we're trying to conference with students to get the situation right. These talk about the types of behaviors that students are most referred for. And defiance seems to be our biggest one here. So students being defiant of their teachers. Because I know you'd never be defiant to your parents, right? You want to look at it closer? So that's a whole range. You can see very typical of most schools. Male students are referred far more than female students are referred. And why do they get referred? What is the perception of what has happened? And the perception, in most cases by the teachers, is that students are either trying to escape the task, they don't want to do what they've been asked to do, and that could be for a wide variety of reasons. And it might be to obtain peer attention. Those are the two big ones that we have for us. Our our freshmen this year, since we have the high school, took the PSAT this year, the 8-9 PSAT. They scored an 813 average in school. That's just slightly below state average. I am very proud to report that 3 students were in the 90th percentile or higher nationally. 1 student was at the 97th percentile. We push that student a little bit further, we might have our first National Merit Scholar coming out of here. So in a couple of years, yeah. Percentiles are where you fit in the bucket. So ever heard of a bell curve? A bell curve, shape of a bell. That means majority of people fit in the middle, right? majority of our students. This is right around the state average. Most of our kids are in the middle. And as you get further and further away from the middle, either the score getting higher or lower, there are less and less students in those, what I call buckets. So like maybe 50%, 50 students are at the 50th percentile. They're right in the middle. 2% or three students, so that's like 4% of our students are in the 90th percentile, the top 90% of all students taking the test. So 4 of our students, which is a little less than 8 students should be at the 90th percentile, I guess, mathematically, but maybe not. Our iReady is our internal test of how we measure student performance and achievement. We do it in the reading and math in the fall and the spring. And so we measure 2 things. We measure achievement and we measure growth. So in reading, 100% of our students made at least a year's worth of growth this year, which is good. Our challenge, like many schools' challenges, is we have students that are a year behind or some students that are 2 or more years behind. But we do see a nice change in the curve this year. More students shifted this way in both buckets. So we had students here that shifted here, students here that shifted here. So we decreased our multi-year behind by 10%. And similar results in the mathematics section. We did not have as many students at this point yet meet the typical growth yet in math. So we're working on that right now. Let me see. So I don't want to go too fast. Okay. We have a new commercial. So it's more reflective of what the school is now. I want to show you the new commercial. It's not done yet. I'm not happy with certain things on it yet. So I'm going to be sending it back to our person who does our commercials. Okay, so I figure we should. And it's going to need another change in a second.
ACES at Chase, a free public STEAM magnet school, aspiring to create a community where all students thrive as inspiring learners, creative problem solvers, and responsible citizens. Accepting application for students in grades 6 through 10. Over the next 3 years, enrolling students through 12th grade. Learn, collaborate, advocate, thrive. Come see your future at ACES at Chase.
So we're just some more work on that, but I was excited. I got a draft of that. I sent my first round of comments back, and got some feedback on that. So I'm gonna ask for a few more changes on it before we wrap up. And then my final slide. Have some time. Big news. So and I have workshopped this with a number of students, a lot of 9th grade students, a few 8th grade students. I've done this with parents. So the school's name is going to change next year. So we're going to go from ACES at Chase to ACES Chase Academy. So our concern has been that ACES at Chase does not sound like a school name, and people might not know it's a school. And so we're going to, we want to honor the heritage and tradition of Chase, and we're going to add the word academy to it. So we're going to take the at out and add the academy in to continue our legacy as a wonderful magnet school. So 4 students know. Let the word spread wide. Question? No, we're taking the at out. Yeah, ACES Chase Academy. Okay, so we'll be happy to. I'll be happy to take questions from people too. Yeah, that's not mine. That was I got approval at from this. I was with the executive director at the teacher recognition ceremony today at 4, and 3 of our teachers. We had 2 teachers that were nominated for Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Perry and Mrs. Haran. So they were both recognized, and then we had a first-year teacher that was also recognized for excellence, and that was Miss Rogers. So she's one of our, she'll be a high school teacher next year. Actually, she'll be moving to 10th grade next year. She's 6th and 7th right now. So we recognize the executive director came up to me and said, "You're approved for that change for next year." So literally we're like 3 hours off the notification that we're going to be making that change. Okay. Can I answer questions for anyone? What questions might you have for me to answer? Go ahead.
Can you change the commercial name to Aces Cheese Academy?
We're gonna have to change the commercial, yeah. The commercial is gonna be revised. The voice is still a little tinny. I don't like the voiceover, but the voiceover is gonna have to be redone anyway because it's gotta say Aces Cheese Academy. No, I think where they recorded it, it sounds like it sounds very tinny. It doesn't have a round sound. She already knows. I've already made that comment.
One, I like the voice.
Uh-huh.
And two, what's the St. Margaret's Hall gonna get done renovating?
Okay, so that's a great question. I had a meeting on that this morning too. This has been the day of meetings. We're anticipating starting that project in December. So it's going to go out to bid. It was a pre-bidders conference here last week. The state approvals are still going through. We're waiting for legislation because it was set initially as a $65 million project. We know it's going to cost about $80 million to do the project. So we're at legislature right now. It's looking like we're going to get approval for the additional money. The way state reimbursement works is that state pays 80% and the agency will pay 20% of the cost of the renovation. So St. Margaret's Hall will take approximately 14 months to complete, at which point they'll start sliding over into the library and the gym. The gym will be done over the summer, and the site work will take place next summer. Most of the site work will take place next summer, just the tearing up of all the parking lots, putting in the fire loop. So there'll be a lot of action here over the next few years. Our seniors, when our seniors are seniors, when they grow up to become seniors, they should have a completed school their senior year.
Getting here on the years that St. Margaret's Hall is out of money.
Yeah. Okay. Other questions?
You just mentioned the gym is going to be redone. What are they going to?
So there's minimal work in the gym right now. We have a ceiling issue there, and the locker rooms need to be made ADA compliant. So that's the majority of the work. The floor will likely be refinished. At one point, well, it still says change, so that's not part of the deal. At one point, there were bleachers in, but I don't know if that's in the current value engineering that's going on right now. Because we want to kind of expand that space a little bit for.
But they'll still be able to use it while it's.
Yeah, we might have a short window of time where it's not available, but most of that work is supposed to take place over the summer into early, and hopefully it'll be done before early September. One more, last question for you.
Oh, later, do we like in the gym? Do we like use the gym inside the gym to like
Yeah.
exercise?
Yeah. We'll have classes for that. That'll be a high school class.
I saw.
Yeah, so we'll have a fitness class, weightlifting class for high school students. Yes. Yep. Yeah, sure. So we actually have, I think, 11 students, freshmen right now, actually taking a college class. So we should have like 11 sophomores running around with college credit in their pockets next year. They're taking a discrete math class right now. Next year, all students have the opportunity to take college readiness class through post-university. So that will be available for sophomores next year to take that. Students who are going to want a 3rd or 4th year of world language will do that through either Naugatuck Valley or Post. So the college classes are going to be available and ready for kids to take. Go ahead. Here we are not. So if you want to do a language other than Spanish, you would do that through dual enrollment for one of the colleges. So, and some people often ask about that. You know, we're a STEAM school. That's our focus is STEAM. We're not a global studies school. And so if we were a global studies school, we probably have multiple language offerings, but we wouldn't have the same engineering opportunities for students. So we're trying to be true to our theme and leverage our resources to make sure our STEAM opportunities are robust. And for students that might be interested in another language, we'll have that available through dual enrollment. Any final questions? I'll do yours afterwards.
When do the, I guess, rising 9th graders get to choose like?
So That's one of our technical issues we're trying to work out with for Power School, so we can do direct entry data. So it will happen before they leave. It has to happen before they leave. So, and that way we can build the schedules over the summer. Hopefully moving forward, because we've never done this before. This is another one of those, we've never done this before situations. So hopefully we'll start that February. By the way, I did neglect to say, the lottery for 26, 27, will take place in November this year. We're shifting our lottery to the fall to be in alignment with other high schools in the area. So people are making their decisions at the same time. So we're not playing catch up with all the other schools that have already made these decisions, and students have gotten their enrollment.
And that's gonna change for the
The
entire.
whole thing. Yeah. So all the lottery will take place in November next year. So we're gonna probably remain fairly steady at 20 to 25 students. Our class average right now is a little under 21 students per class. We do have some that are larger, we do have some that are smaller, but we'll be between that 20 to 25 students per class, which is pretty standard for any public school.
For the ninth graders.
Yeah.
Rising ninth graders, will they have like, will the teachers help them with their class select? How
Yeah,
will that be
so
done?
in terms of current eighth graders who will be rising ninth graders, the school counselors will go through the process with them. You have a lot of choices to make relative to middle school. You have to decide for your core academics, whether you want to take academic level or honors level. You can take them for all, for none, for some. It doesn't matter. You can mix and match any way you want. If you're a science and math person, you say, I want to take honors algebra and honors biology, but I'd rather take academic level humanities. Totally fine. To do that, you'll have to choose music, engineering, or art, and/or combinations of them. You'll have some choice in that as well as to what you want to take. We're going to have more, because we're going to have sophomores next year, we'll have more art offerings. If you're currently taking algebra and you're going to be taking algebra 2 next year, that'll be a mixed grade level class. So that'll be 10th grade and 9th grade mixed together. That's how high school works. So you'll be with the students with the same ability levels and same class level you are at.